Welcome to the First 30 podcast. Today we're going back to the 80s in this new horror game, Suffer the Night by Tainted Pact. Is the unsettling ambiance good enough to make up for some lazy puzzle designs? And will I ever be able to figure out how to open doors in this game? Well, let's find out. Thank you for listening to the First 30. I'm your host, Chad Callahan, and alongside me are the creepers that are watching you while you sleep, Tim Harris.
Hello.
And David Marino.
Even while you're not.
Okay, Santa Claus. Which still creeps me out to this day. I don't know why our parents put that thought in our head, like to make it okay for like grown men to watch you literally every moment of your life. I don't, you know what? It just feels a little bit odd.
I mean, I guess that's fair.
It's less charming the more you think about it.
Parents are the original groomers.
Ooh, Santa's the original groomer, at least.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. I mean,
where do you think all those elves came from?
Wow.
Oh.
Okay.
He puts like some type of spell on it and make them look forever children.
Don the tinfoil hat there.
But I have a lovely drink here, and I am back on caffeine, which means that I can actually function as a human being.
Woo.
I missed it. I was on a water cleanse for 30 days, and I was just trying to get back to. I got so used to caffeine, right, that like it wasn't doing anything anymore. So I thought, okay, if I just detox off of it for a while, maybe it'll work again. And it's 100% working. I feel the effects of caffeine 100%. So
are you feeling it, Mr. Krabs?
Yeah. Are you feeling it? Yeah, I'm feeling it.
I drink Red Bull every day that I'm at work, and
yeah.
I still feel like it works right up until the point where I crash and want to die. Yeah.
Oh, there's always a crash.
There's something about Red Bull. I don't know if they like their secret formulation or whatever, but they definitely got a kick to them.
Oh yeah.
Like I've had some other energy drinks that claim like highest maximum caffeine or whatever, but man, Red Bull still. It's juicing.
See, that's the thing. I got to the point where Red Bull, it was just a drink to me. So that's why I did it. And I'm happy I did it because now, like I said, like this one, it's kicking my butt in a good way. I'm sure I'll crash, but like, if I crash, it's already in the evening. So it's like, whatever. But I'm loving it. I like this feeling. So if anyone is having that problem where like they feel like caffeine's not working for them, do like, maybe not 30 days, but I would say at least a couple weeks. Yeah. Yeah, more drink more. It's just not working for you, man. Just double up.
David's idea more because I can't give up caffeine. I'm just not going to.
I'm just saying if you don't want it to not work, you know what I mean? Like that's the problem. It was just a fizzy drink at that point.
You just need to triple your dose.
See, that's the thing. I believe if I want to say I used to have like 2 cups of coffee a day and then probably an energy drink, and it was nothing. Like I would still be tired throughout the day.
I popped 2 5-hour energy once.
Oh,
that was a lot. That was a lot.
I've never done 2. My mom does those, but she only takes half at a time because so she can't handle that much caffeine. She's not a veteran like this one right here who just bounces off of them like a bulletproof armor. So I don't know. But enough about caffeine. We're not here to talk about caffeine, although I could talk about it all day because it's the love of my life, honestly. But we're here to talk about the game Suffer the Night, and we're going to get into the presentation. Tim, as per usual, do you want to maybe dive through the storyline of what we know so far in the game?
Oh, I sure do. The story in this one's actually really fun. Basically, you're this. We've figured out that you are in the 80s. You're not just an 80s enthusiast.
We thought she was a retro lover. Her name is Stacey.
Stacey, that's right. Yeah. You're Stacey, and you're in your house, and you're just kind of living your day, making breakfast. I think it was breakfast, and doing your laundry, and then you get a mysterious knock on your door from Johnny. Whatever it is, I can't remember.
Top Hat.
Edward
I don't know.
Scissorhands is his name. There we go. Yes.
I call him Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, Edward Krueger hands. We'll go with that. And he just comes to your house and gives you a game to play, and then he really, really wants you to play it. And he's, just kind of a stand-up guy. And then things go poorly.
To say the least.
Yes.
I I will say they do a very good job overall in the ambiance in this game, because the minute this starts, it's very unsettling. It's very creepy. I think you're right. I think it's the morning, and it's hard to tell because the game is very dark, but like it's like very rainy and things are going on in the background, and you have to like turn on the radio and like, oh, we have record thunderstorms and like power outages are happening all over the place, and so they really set up the tone here. But every once in a while, like you hear like the thunder in the background. It's just very unsettling. It puts you in that like that feeling of you're alone in a house by yourself. And I think, I'm not a woman, but I can imagine being a woman alone in the house in the middle of nowhere would be an added creep out amount, because I think that's kind of one of those. It reminds me of that movie, was it Hush, where she can't hear, but she lives in the middle of the woods for some reason, and then that guy tries to break in. That's a great movie. Good recommendation, by the way, if anyone wants to watch that.
I would like to live in the middle of the woods. I'm not going to lie. I guess it's a little worse as a woman, but like, I'm sure.
By yourself, though?
Stacey claims she has a gun, so she was prepared, kind of.
She claimed, but lying, he knew she was lying. Yeah. Yeah. So that's true. And I also actually think that the villain is actually creepy. Like, what's that movie? It reminds me of a movie that just came out, and I think it was Ethan Hawke was the villain.
The Black Phone.
Black Phone.
Oh, you're right.
Black Phone. Yeah.
It looks a lot like that character from that movie, except instead of it being a mask, I think it's supposed to be his real face. Is that what it was supposed to be?
Think probably. He seems to be some sort of malevolent spirit.
Creeper.
Yeah, or demon or something. I don't know what it is. Something.
Or just a feisty game dev. He really wants his game played, one or the other.
Yeah, it's the 80s. So he hands you a floppy disk through your mail slot, and you're just like, play the game. Which I'm wondering, like, if we didn't play the game, would we be in this situation? Like, if we didn't put the game in? Like, I don't know. I'm curious if there's lore to that, like, that we accepted the gameplay.
I think there is. The like cursed discs, I think they called them, was hinting at like, if you play the game, you're screwed. But he seemed to be able to find his way into the house, so I think you were gonna play that game anyway.
yeah. You wake up and you're at the keyboard like, what's happening? And it's just making you play the game. That's true. Overall, though, the graphics, I would say, are pretty good. I think it's interesting because, again, we were talking about it's like kind of into the 80s, so it's weird because in the real world, it's very Unreal Engine, typical kind of what you'd expect in like most games nowadays, especially in like these, like, I guess it's pretty much an indie horror game. And the house is really nice, and it's like, actually the house is awesome. First off, I want to dive into the house real quick. Actually, the house is amazing. Your bedroom is massive. Your bathroom is like, it's nice size. You're in a cabin, quote unquote, but like you have these awesome posters. Like you're a metalhead. You're an artist, and you have like easels everywhere. It's great. I love this person. The house is massive, and you have like a boathouse. It's like dream house goals.
Yeah,
like
waterfront
come on now.
Property.
Yeah, like I want this house wherever this person lives. I would gladly, take this demon in just to like own that house. But back to the gameplay and the graphics. Overall, the graphics look great, but they switch a little bit on you because you can also play within the game another game, which is like a text-based adventure, which is more like 8-bit and very, very old school. Like, I don't even know what year it would have been.
Some of
but
my
like
favorites. Well, it would have been
early 80s,
the
late
80s.
70s.
Yeah. It could have been late 70s, but the 80s were big on text adventures for sure.
Yeah. So, and it's
definitely,
weird because
the computer definitely looks like a Commodore or similar.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So they have that much going on in that one. And then actually, they have like other stuff in the basement that you can play. They had an arcade game in the basement, which was really cool. And you can actually play it. And it was like like an old Castlevania style game, which looked awesome. I died right away. I'm not really good at those types of games. I think those are better with joysticks versus keyboard, to be perfectly honest. So I think maybe I would have been better if I had a joystick. But you can play it, and I'm curious if you could like beat that game, like the arcade game. We didn't spend too much time in it, but that'd be kind of cool if you could.
They probably let you get at least a little ways in. Probably something spooky happens at the end, and like,
yeah, I'd love that.
Or that's how you get the true ending. You beat the arcade game and get like some sort of eldritch object to defeat the Hat Man.
But maybe that's what it is. Maybe if you beat that arcade game, the game just ends.
Or that's where your gun's hidden. You got to be good enough, and that's the safe.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh,
how great would that be?
The
Someone
ultimate
breaks into
gun
your house,
safe.
and you have to beat this game in order to stop them.
Yeah.
It's like,
You have a burglar. It's like, hold on. I gotta beat this level. And the burglar's just, all right, well, just watching you, like giving you pointers in the background. Jump over. That'd be pretty great. But yeah, the overall feel of the game is pretty great, and it expands upon it with the sounds involved, especially because they do a lot of music that is quintessential like 80s. They have like a record player you could play that has like some, I would even say like the record player has like more 70s music to it, but if you turn on the radio, it's like more like metal kind of music. It feels very like hair metal. And then just the overall sounds in the game are pretty good, I would say, because you walk around and you just hear things, and you're in this dark house. And it reminds me of when I was a kid, like by myself, when like my mom was at work or something, and there would be a thunderstorm, and you'd hear something in the house, and you're just like, I'm alone in this house, and there shouldn't be any noises, and it's just like the house settling or whatever, or like, you know, a demon, who knows.
Yeah, it could be. I was actually we were just listening to the stream, but the sound design is very good. There was a point where the creature in question, the guy in question, whatever you want to call him, was supposed to be in the house, and I was actually a little unsettled by our own footsteps.
yeah.
I was like, he's walking around somewhere, but it was us the whole time.
Oh yeah, us walking around. Yeah. It does a good job at giving that, especially in the house. I think the house is actually creepier than later on, where you end up in like some weird dungeon. The house is 1,000 times scarier than the weird gross dungeon, which is funny to me, because you think that like this dark dungeon is supposed to be like scary and like unsettling, but the house, I don't know if it's just because like it feels more real to like what could happen in our real lives versus just like, you know, to find a dungeon like that, you'd probably have to go to Europe or something like that, not in the US.
Or down the street. I got some creepers around here, man. I don't know.
Okay, if they might have dungeons, but I guarantee they're not that big. They don't have like catacomb style dungeons. That's true. There's a lot of creepers around us. Who knows? And they're watching you sleep. So the one downside I would say about the sound design is the voice acting. I think it's a little just okay. It feels just meh.
Yeah, I can't disagree. Like especially when you get to the dungeon and there's like these discs you can play that give you like more lore about the story and all that. The woman that we found, I'm not a huge fan of the voice actor. She doesn't really have like very good delivery, I guess would be how I say it. Like, I'm sure she could pull it off, but it seems like they were lacking some direction perhaps.
I wonder, like, when they were doing it, I think, what was her name, Ada or something? Like, I think there's supposed to be different characters like within the discs there, because they're all trapped in the discs, like their like souls are trapped in there. But I'm wondering if they're trying to make it sound like, you know, like Siri a little bit, or like an Alexa sound, because like I feel like that's where they were trying to go with it, where the more like robotic like
maybe
voice, but it just didn't work. I don't know.
It's probably slapped a filter over it to make it sound not even necessarily like it's an AI, like it's just old since it's coming out of a floppy disk. Yeah.
Or whatever word that. I don't know.
The main girl, I think she did a decent job. The scary guy, I'm going to just call him because I don't remember, or even if he had a name, but I'm going to call him the scary guy. He does a pretty decent job. There's a couple times, like we mentioned it while we were playing through, but there's a couple times when like he delivered a line and we were like, well, I would do it this way.
Yeah.
you know?
He would deliver a line and you could tell it was supposed to sound menacing, but it was the same tone throughout instead of like just being like a yell. Like, I think it's like, I don't remember what he said exactly. It's like, oh, I'm going to come over there and I'm going to get ya is how I would deliver it. But I'm going to come over there and get ya.
Yeah.
And I was oh, okay. I was like, oh, well, okay, that's really boring.
Those few things aside, I think you can feel like the voice actor is having some fun with it. So
yeah,
you get that little bit like, oh, it's the scary, slasher killer. Like he's in the horror game. He's going to be lots of fun. And I get that from him. He maybe once in a while drops a strange line, probably just because it's being pieced together from like, who knows how long these recording sessions went on, and they used this take for this one and a later one for that. So it's kind of being cobbled together. But it sounded like he was having fun being the villain.
I won't disagree. I think like Tim said, overall he did a pretty good job. I think there's just a handful of moments where I was just like, could have been better. But I did appreciate the kind of like creepy vibe that he was giving on. So I can't fault him on that one for sure. Moving on, there is some collectibles in this one, and I think they're like tarot cards, because I think the only one we got was like the magician card.
Yes, it was the magician.
Yep, got the magician, and then there was collectibles / keys, because there was that one box that needed the fool card.
Yeah.
So
we just didn't figure out what the magician does yet.
Yeah.
So it's very possible that like either A, they open up like secret things, or B, you actually have to go and find those things and utilize them in the game to progress.
In order
I'm not
to
sure
progress,
which.
yeah.
I don't know which it is.
The magician was well hidden.
Yes, he was. Actually, like, it's interesting because, like, the way it was looking is like it's supposed to be like a secret that you find the magician, but it was like in the corner, and I would have missed it had I not like focused on it. You just kind of like walk away from it.
Yeah.
I accidentally found it. Had I not been like looking in the scanner at the time, I would have just like walked right past it probably.
Yeah, and it didn't seem like it was necessary for anything, because I don't believe we used it for anything, so it's got to be some kind of secret, or it's just something we need later.
Yeah, and it might be. I'm trying to remember if the magician was in the room where we ended up, or if it was like in one of the hallways before the room. But
it was right after the room with the grinding of the bodies.
Oh, okay.
Hidden in the corner. Yeah, I don't remember if that was the room with the box with the fool on it right offhand.
I think it was before that. It was right before that, because we found it and we're like, oh, that's cool. And then we just walked into the room and that had the save space. Okay. I think it was right before we ended our version. But yeah, a lot of cool things with that. I'm curious to see if there's more integration with the tarot cards overall. And moving on to the UI, one thing I saw, and I've never seen this in a game. Tim says he's seen it before. There's audio quality settings. I've seen audio settings, and usually it's just like, the baseline, what you'd expect in there. But the quality setting was what threw me off, because it was high, low. I've never seen that. Usually it's just like master volume, whatever, different sound volumes. But I don't know what that means. Like, does it take your sound card into consideration? That was the thing that threw me off. I had no idea what that, like,
I'm assuming it's the level of the bit stream, perhaps. I don't know for sure, but like I see it more on older games than newer ones. Like, really? I haven't seen it in a long time, but yeah, I used to see it a lot back in the day.
Are they trying to go for that retro thing? So they put that little thing in there? Like, what a weird thing to do if that's the case, but I don't know. But David, you had a complaint about the text in particular.
Yeah, it's like super tiny. Well, sometimes it was super tiny. Like they didn't sections of text weren't broken up, even like by line. Like when you clicked on the radio, that entire block of text, like that entire, I'm assuming it was one file for whatever that message was, just boom, scrolling across this tiny little box in the middle of the screen.
Yeah, it was very, and I don't remember, and I could have missed it, but I don't remember in the settings seeing anything about like subtitle signs or size at all. So I don't know. Maybe it's perfectly what?
I was a little bit weirded out because it didn't seem consistent either. Like it seemed like sometimes the text was larger than others, and I was like, that's a little bit weird. Like I didn't hate it, but I was like, that's kind of strange.
Yeah, it did feel a little like inconsistent because like I think it was when she was speaking to him, the text was definitely bigger than when we were at the radio, because the radio is like an actual full paragraph in this tiny little box at the bottom of the screen. But like when she spoke, it was like maybe the same size box, but it would be like, you know, a short sentence. So it felt weird. It was like, it was more like constraint to the box, less constraint to the size of the text, which felt very foreign. I don't know why they would do that, but that aside, I mean, I guess it was more of like a listening thing. So, but if you have like, you know, hearing problems, and then you also, you know, maybe you're farsighted, you probably struggle with that a bit because that was very difficult for me to read. And I could see computer screens close up pretty good. So David, though, has some favorite tidbits that he wants to go over. This is where he breaks down some of the cool things that we might not know about the game.
I do. I found some interesting things, as well as a comparison that you made to something else.
Oh.
So the dev, Tainted Pact, who happens to be one guy. This is another single dev game.
I love when they have, instead of it being a name of a person, they actually have like a title. Like, I think that's kind of funny to me.
Their studio name, even though it's one guy.
It's just a dude.
I'd have a studio name.
He is also responsible for Meat Saw, a free game on Steam that you should absolutely not play. Sorry, Tainted Pact. No, it's not good. It is very dark. You can basically only see like immediately in front of you if you're looking down at the ground. There's just a nasty kind of chromatic aberration / pixel filter. Very strong on everything, headache inducing. I only played like the intro before I was like, I can't do this. I'm out. Sorry.
Really?
This weird mask guy, who you drew up the comparison to the Black Phone, I actually thought looked a lot like the weird mask guy from Book of Blood from Dread X Collection 5.
Oh, I've not played that one.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. that.
Okay.
I just went back in my brain. You're right. That's a good comparison too. Or like
That's what I thought
the
of.
Grim Cuddy from the movie Grim Cuddy.
I
Also,
haven't seen
no
that.
idea what that is.
I'll look at
It's a
later
newer
and see.
movie.
Okay.
Okay.
And then the final piece of tidbit, specifically for you, Chad.
Ooh.
Skelly Boys are confirmed to be in the game.
Yes! We get some Skelly Boys in the game. All right, good. So you get to fight off Skelly Boys. All right.
Yep.
Well, is it
Hordes of them from what I saw.
Hordes? Oh, God. All right, this is bringing back Minecraft horror after this one, that's for sure.
Stacey does indeed have a gun.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, the song, isn't it? Stacey's got a gun.
Yeah.
Janie's
no,
got a gun.
It's Janie.
Janie.
Yeah, never mind.
Oh,
Never
joke
mind.
ruined.
Lame.
And now we're back with the gameplay segment. That's right, the meat and taters of the game. And we're back to talk about the horror action / text adventure game that is Suffer the Night. And this definitely gets a little bit different here because there's definitely very different games to play here. Like the very beginning of the game is a text adventure-ish kind of game. You do some exploring, I will admit. There's some exploring, but a lot of the gameplay is really focused around this like text adventure that you have to kind of walk around. And then it gets into like what you call it, like a dungeon crawler type of game, Dave.
Yeah.
Is that what you called it? So it's really interesting that they have like a really long period of time where you're really focused on like this text adventure and then just parallel really different types of gameplay where you're like trying to trudge around in this dungeon and escape a little bit. But so that's the basic like kind of games play that you're going to get into this game. But I want to talk about the controls a little bit, where the character controls are pretty fine. You can, walking around feels pretty good. Like flashlight, nothing felt too out of place until
they do that thing though that I don't like, where they lock your sprint until they tell you can sprint.
That's true. I kept pressing it thinking, oh, maybe I can. You can't sprint or crouch until you learn how to do it, which was really annoying. You're right.
I mean, I don't hate that a game doesn't let you do those things if you don't need them for any reason, but there was a lot of stuff that could have been, traversed quickly with the sprint button. However,
I
that was a really
see,
good atmosphere building section, so I know why.
I can definitely see them locking the crouch for that house section, because you don't need that. Just use it in the dungeon part. But the sprint, even though, because you start the thing, it's oh, go make eggs. Okay, do your laundry. Okay, now you can sprint. It's you couldn't let me sprint down the stairs to get to the laundry quicker? Come on.
Honestly, yeah. And the worst thing is I know they're atmosphere building, but the parts where you don't sprint are boring.
Nothing's happened yet.
Nothing's happening yet. It's not scary yet. I can understand if there was something scary and you kind of had trying to peek around and you're trying to be silent or quiet or something like that. But nothing was happening. I was just making breakfast and going to do my laundry.
That's why I think the first section of the game is actually quite effective. It's because it is literally just building the main character. It's all it is. It's just building the main character, and then you build the world of this game that you're going to eventually end up inside of. It's actually pretty cool, in my opinion. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I won't say that's wrong. I just think it would have been the first beginning of the game is I don't know, 45 minutes it took us to get through those quote unquote a tutorial or stories structure. I think if I could sprint in the beginning of the game, that would have been 30 minutes.
Perhaps.
And two,
at least.
Okay, the house, you're exploring, going around, this, that, the other thing, whatever. But why is there such a huge path to go out to the boathouse that you need? You need to go get gas once for the generator thing. It almost feels like they bought this house map for this game and felt compelled to use everything that it came with.
I mean, that's fair, but is your boathouse going to be directly next to your house? Probably not. I mean, you always walk down a pathway to get to your boathouse.
Don't have the boathouse, you have to just leave instead of having to get the flashlight from the garage.
Yeah,
I have to fill the generator. The flashlight can be in the basement next to the washing machine, and I go get gas for the generator from the garage. The boathouse felt completely superfluous.
I mean, I guess I still kind of liked it just because, again, it was just atmosphere building. They send you out into this cold, dark world with this creepy shit going on, and you're kind of seeing what's happening outside, and it kind of builds that sense of, oh, shit's not good,
I also thought it was weird because I think it would have been more effective because you don't find out about the scary guy until well after that happens. It would have been much more scary or effective to have him kind of out there somewhere potentially, and you had to get to the boathouse and back.
Or just
that would have been more
watching
effective. And you don't know where he is, or there's scares. There was no scare. It was just go to boathouse, get gas, go back.
Come back. Yeah.
That was it. There was no building of atmosphere outside of it's rainy outside. You know what I mean? So that's where I can't say it's really building atmosphere because it didn't really make me uncomfortable. So that's my only issue with it overall. But we were talking about the breakfast, right? Okay. All right. By far the worst part about the game was making breakfast. All right. It was the most annoying thing about the game, and I don't know if it was trying to prep me for stuff kind of how to use the mechanics, because I think it was more annoying than anything. But you have to go in and to open doors. I've seen this with phasmophobia is the one thing that comes to my mind, where you have to drag the door open. It's not my favorite mechanic, to be honest, because a lot of times I find it a little bit clunky the way that it works. This one, it kept saying drag. All right. It kept saying drag to open. So I was moving my mouse left and right, thinking okay, if I move it left, if the cabinet opens left, you move it left. If the cabinet opens right, you move it right. If you pull the drawer, you pull the drawer. That's what I was thinking. No, to open anything, it really goes up and down. So you have to move the mouse forward or backwards, no matter what you're doing. If you're pulling a drawer, if you're opening a cabinet, it's all backwards, forwards. Annoying because until David mentioned that to me, I was struggling to open things quickly. It took me twice as long to open something because I was trying to do it left and right.
Yeah, and you said in Phasmo that you do it left and right, but I do forward and back and it works fine. So I'm
maybe
confused.
both works. I don't know.
I think in Phasmo it's just set up to move in the direction of the swing. So like if you're pulled down, you'll open the door, but also if like, you got two cabinets like this, if you want to open this one, if you push the mouse to the right, it swings to the right, so it still accepts that as a valid input instead of just saying locked, no, forward, back.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe there's just multiple.
That's another thing too, because I don't remember
from
the demo. When you interact with something, are you still allowed to move?
What do you mean? Like when I interact with something?
Because I know there's some games I've played where they have this like click and drag mechanic. They won't let you essentially walk it open. So like you click and hold it down, and then if you back up, it'll still swing open. I've seen some games where they don't let you do that.
Okay. I didn't try that, so I can't confirm nor deny, but I want to say it didn't let me move, but I can't remember for sure. So I can't confirm that one. But I still hated breakfast. The worst part is like they said make coffee and wanted me to find coffee beans. And I get it. It said coffee beans on this giant bag, but the giant bag is tucked under the sink, which is on the opposite side of the kitchen from the coffee machine. And then there's all this stuff above the coffee machine that looks like it would be canisters of coffee, right? Yeah. You can't quite see what it is. You're like, oh, that's
terrible instant coffee too. That's why I was disappointed, and then it wasn't, and I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah. And so like it was just a little annoying. I don't know.
The other thing I don't really get, at least for this house section, is I don't think there was a single thing that we had to pull open during the dungeon part. So like, why did they have this mechanic in here?
Where's the door mechanic? I mean, maybe later.
We don't know.
No, that's true. We didn't see much of the dungeon stuff. That's true.
Like we know there's a box we got to open eventually. So,
I think if it stays in the house and we had to like struggle, like in Phasmo, for example, when you're running from the ghost, struggling with the door is actually a mechanic of the game. Like it's the fear based. It's like something that it would happen in real life a little bit. So I get that. This doesn't feel like it has that at all. So it's like, why even have this like extra element? Like, why can't I just press E? Or in this instance, actually, this is one thing that bugs me. You have to click. It doesn't have a designated input. Sometimes certain things are E. Sometimes certain things are like left click. Drives me nuts. For example, when you have the scanner later on in the dungeon, you open the scanner and then there's multiple ways that multiple things the scanner can do. One of the things is like obvious, it scans. The second one is you can go in and like read floppy disks. To read the floppy disk, you press E, right? That's your input. And it goes into this different menu. Then you have to press W and S, which is weird to me that you'd use to go up and down. Like I get it, but I don't. I've never seen that in a game. Why can't I scroll wheel?
W and S being up and down in a game.
Walking. W and S is walking, not up and down. Never have I seen that as an up and down.
I have seen W and S be up and down in a menu in a game before. I guarantee it.
If it is, it's not a game I like. Why not scroll wheel or click? Or, anything else, arrow keys, anything. Hated that. Whatever.
They should have let you scroll.
Yeah, scroll would be fine, but yeah, W and S is like absolutely normal.
Scroll preferred.
No, it doesn't make sense to me, but whatever. And then this is the clincher, right? I've already used E. E is the input, right? That we've already established to even open this menu. Guess what button I have to use to actually select the read option? Left click. Drives me nuts. Why can't I press E again?
Yeah.
You're changing inputs on me.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I do want to say that E is actually to exit that mode, not
exactly.
To open a menu.
Why am I opening it and then E also closes it out? Just doesn't make sense. Just make escape the closeout like every other fucking game. Actually, that's another gripe I have with most games. Amanda Adventure does this too. I just played that one. If you want to go watch that video on our other channel, but if you press escape, it takes you to like the pause menu. I hate that. That should just be the escape from whatever mode you're in button automatically. Game devs just put that in. That's we've been all trained to do that. So when when there's a game that doesn't do that, it drives me absolutely crazy. I'm just saying that right now.
I use escape to like get to the menu usually.
I guess you're weird. I don't know. I feel like I use it.
I feel like almost every game I've played, escape is the menu.
I'll tell you what, though, I very much enjoy
crazy.
the Resident Evil remakes, how when you're navigating menus, click selects and goes forward in menus, and then you can just right click to back out. That's so nice.
Yeah, it is real nice.
I just like when things are consistent among all games. I think that's going to be my problem with most of these games. Like anytime there's something that's not normal.
Rebind. Chad always has to rebind his controls to be normalized.
There you go.
That's true. And I'll never take the time to do it. So just be bitching the entire time because I'm not going to do that. It's just so much work. I'm not going to do it. But there were a couple clunky moments I did notice. One of the worst ones in particular was it wasn't so much when you go up to ladders in general. You just kind of walk into it and you just start going up, which is fine, whatever. Like if you go up and then walk, I that makes sense to me. It was when we were going down this dark room and it looked like you couldn't really see what it was. And then all of a sudden you just, or like your character moves in a weird direction. You're like, what is happening? Like, did I glitch into another room? Did something happen? No, I was on a ladder. I just didn't know it because one, it's dark, and two, I didn't know there's a ladder going down. So you have to like press down the down button, even though I was previously moving forward. So it's just like disorienting. I think that was a very clunky mechanic. I think there should be like an indicator or something there to help that out.
I figured it out, but it was really weird looking.
And when you're walking to the edge essentially. There's no indication. There's not like a cutout in the floor or anything to say, hey, this is a ladder. The wall is completely black. I think a lot of it would have been helped if they just had a torch so that you could see that, I'm turning around. I'm turning around and I'm going to go down a ladder.
Yeah, it's just darkness. So your character, you see stuff moving, but you don't know what's
It's just a completely black screen, and then you're like holding the lighter or something, and your character's hand just like whips out of frame. Like, what the fuck?
So it's a couple things like that. And then the second clunky thing is the scanner when you use it. Again, a lot of these things can be solved with indicators of what's going on. The ladder, the scanner situation, where you scan things and it shows you like where secrets are, which is really cool. I actually really like the mechanic because you can see through walls, and like when you do scan it, it brings things into the real world, or like, the game world that you're in. I don't know what this is. The dungeon, we'll call it. But the problem I have is you have to be in the right spot for it, really. So the first time I tried to use it, I was too close to the subject and it just didn't work. And I was like, oh, am I doing it wrong? I was just too close.
At least that one did tell you that you were intersecting the object. Like that one said, a little bit, yeah, you're too close. This isn't going to work.
True. I think I must have missed it, but maybe you must have saw it. But
it was just a message that appeared on the scanner.
Oh, okay. I didn't notice that. So it's like, but again, it didn't let me know of like what's too close, what's too far. There's no indication of like, this is the perfect angle to do this scan from. And then the next time we did it, there's like this big, massive like thing on the wall, and it's big and purple. So I was like trying to figure out where to step. And I thought in my head, okay, so I have to get the whole outline in frame. But no, you have to get really close to it. So you only have like the middle of it in frame for it to scan. It was just really weird. Like it just doesn't make sense of why certain things scan at different areas, and there's no indication of like how close is the right level of closeness to actually scan this thing.
I just assume you need to be close. One of the things with that I noticed though is it doesn't just highlight things that you can bring back into the game world. It also seems to highlight important objects as well that have nothing to do with the actual scanner, like the body part pit and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that was a little bit disorienting for me because I noticed that going on, and I was like, oh, so it'll show that as purple, but it's not actually something that's missing from the world, and it kind of makes no sense, and it makes you think you need to use the scanner for it, but you don't.
It would be nice if that was like a different color instead, like red or something.
Just has use highlight or something.
Yeah.
Or no, the game even has that already. It has red when you can interact with something. So I wonder if that's something got mixed up. Maybe it's a bug.
No, maybe. Because the grinder was purple, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and there was something else later in the game that did it too, right before we stopped, that also showed up as purple, but it was just something that you can use.
I can't remember what that was.
That's actually something else I noticed when I was playing the demo too, and like when we were trying to figure out how the meat grinder worked is it does that thing where, especially for doors, and I don't get why it does it for doors, where you have to actually click on the knob in order to open it, instead of just like, oh, I'm standing in front of the door, I've clicked the door, I can open it, just swing it open.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm right there with you. It was very irritating because you have to look down. I don't know. It just takes me out of the game when I have to be very laser focused on certain things.
We had to unlock the garage, okay, fine. I have to use the key in the keyhole. That's fine. But once I do that, just let me select anywhere on the door to swing it open.
Yeah. At least it was like the doorknobs were fairly large. I think with some games when they make like the where you have to click on it so tiny, that's even more irritating than anything. This, I kind of forgave it because like it was kind of obvious where I had to click versus like other games where it's like, where on this thing am I supposed to click? Like it wasn't too terrible from what I could tell. But let's get a little bit into the text adventure part, because there's one part of this that I thought was really kind of clever, because during the gameplay, you actually sit at your computer in game. So your character is in her room and she's forced to play this game. And there's like the creature guy or whatever you want to call him is like messing with her. And so like as you're trying to play the game, quote unquote, that he's making you do, she gets distracted a lot by him. And then at the same time, this is my favorite mechanic. You have to do this like look behind, right? And I think that's really cool because there's like sounds happening behind you.
Yeah.
And like I kept freaking out and looking behind me and like trying to see what was behind me. Although to be honest, there's only like a handful of times that it was actually like used. I'm trying to think if there was any time that actually was like useful to use that versus just like straight up getting out of the chair.
No, it's pretty much just for the disruptions portion when you're playing through the text adventure. But I will say this highlights a really good change that they made from the demo, or like I guess it's called Chapter 1 on the store page for free. When you're doing that in the demo, it still triggers all of the same stuff, but it doesn't stop you from playing. Like the screen glitched out and you couldn't do anything. You would just like something would happen behind you and you'd look and you'd see the guy. And I was playing the demo and I just assumed, okay, I'm on a timer now. I have to do this quickly or he's going to get me. So I'm going through all the stuff like really fast, memorize all the things I need to go through, and he'd always catch me. I didn't realize until 3 or 4 loads trying to get through this quickly that I'm supposed to go look at what he's disrupting and like fix it, I guess, essentially. So the fact that something went off and the game like freezes up just to kind of like poke you into like, okay, you have to go do something now, I thought was a really good change.
Oh yeah, because it has like a glitch on the screen, so you can't do anything.
You can't do anything else.
You're like forced to stop. So yeah, I think I would have done the same thing where I was like, oh my god, he's coming closer. Kind of like Five Nights at Freddy. I think we've been trained in a lot of these games nowadays to like do things quickly before the creature gets you. So I think that's probably why they changed it. You're right. That's a good catch on compared to the demo. I wonder if they changed that, if they upgraded the demo at all, or the first chapter, quote unquote.
I will go take a look.
Yeah, let me know if that, because I'd be curious to see if they changed that at all.
It's a good question. I'm going to guess it was community feedback to some degree, because everyone probably had David's same problem. Like, I can't win because I keep getting murdered.
What am I doing? How am I not fast enough?
I saw a bunch of people putting game-breaking bug. I'm wondering if it was they played the demo and thought, oh, maybe. No matter what I do, I can't beat this. So, because I didn't run into any game-breaking bug in my run.
You know what? Probably another thing they changed from the demo. What probably fueled that as well is in the demo you actually had to type the commands. It was like an actual text-based adventure, so you would type go right, go back.
Oh, yeah, I hate that.
I would like that even more because that is the text-based joy I want.
I wonder if everybody thinking they're about to get got caused the typing, their typing skills to plummet. So they changed to the hotkey. They changed to the hotkey to aid even more in.
Yeah, mine would say like to got rigged instead of go right. It would be mine. So I mean, they'd have to be very lenient on the text for it to work, because that would be really frustrating. Are there any other changes from the demo, or are those the only two that you caught on to?
Those are definitely the two big ones I noticed. The ending sequence after you go up into the attic was slightly different, I think, because you ran away really quickly. We didn't get to see.
Yeah, I kind of. But
if in the demo, when you go up to the painting, instead of because you like clicked on it and it did like the camera pan to like focus on it. In the demo, when you just got close to it, he did that thing like in the Nun where he grabs the sides of the painting and then like comes through.
Oh,
where
that's
he was
creepy. I might have just missed it when I ran.
So, well, it didn't trigger a camera pan. It just happened in game. So the fact that little use animation was there already tells me that they changed something.
Gotcha.
And then most of the game was pretty much the same. Oh, no, they took out a puzzle. There was a puzzle where you had to log in to the computer and, the start screen came up and it was like password hint, my favorite author. And you had to like go through your belongings in the room and figure out like who her favorite author was in order to log into the computer. They just completely ripped that puzzle out.
Probably because people are like, why wouldn't she know her favorite author?
It
really takes yourself out of the lore if we're going there.
Wow,
I get
this
the
puzzle
point.
Makes no sense.
It would make more sense if it was someone else's house, but if it's her favorite author, it makes no sense. But let's talk a little bit about the dungeon, and then we'll get to the final say. But we already mentioned the scanner and how that works. It's just really used to find hidden objects and also to like unlock lore from other previous game players. But there's also a lighter that you can use. And Tim, I didn't notice. I must have missed it when it was like reading it. But you can also like light torches in the room, which I kind of like because I have a feeling later you're probably gonna have to traverse back, and I'm wondering if the torches will help you know, like, oh, I've been here before.
Well, if you remember in the text-based adventure, your lighter eventually ran out of fuel as well, so they'll probably play into that as well. And maybe if you don't light those torches, you're gonna be in for some trouble later.
You're SOL. That's a good point. You don't know. I'm not sure about that, but I did think that was kind of cool. And then we didn't find a weapon, but I did find a crowbar. However, I do know that there are guns in this game, and you have to fight off skelly boys, as we just learned. So there is some combat in the game a little bit as well, but we didn't see that ourselves. But I'd be curious to see how the combat part works.
It looks like there's booby traps as well. I've seen like spike crushers and. Well, we saw floors that drop away, but there's other different booby traps I saw in like one of the trailers for the game.
I did see like fire, like there's like those fire like from the sides type things. So there are tons of booby traps. So lots of things in there.
Crab game.
Yeah. The one thing, I would say this game is a puzzle game, but the only puzzle that would have been in the game was that author one, and it wasn't in there. We didn't run into a single puzzle in like the hour and a half that we did play. So
I don't think
puzzles,
it's necessarily a puzzle game. It's just an exploration game with horror, slapped on top of it.
Yeah. So honestly, if you're looking for puzzles, I don't think this is it. And if there is puzzles, they're probably very baseline, very easy to solve because nothing in this game seemed very complicated. So, but if you're looking for ambiance, this game has plenty of it. And finally, it's time to find out if Suffer the Night is worth the time, money, and energy. With the final say, I played the game, so I will be going last. We will start with David this time, who, since he played the demo, I think we get some good insight from him. David, Suffer the Night. Will you continue?
Yeah, actually, I think I will continue. I was intrigued by the demo, especially hearing that the game's only like $12. I think that's like probably a game might even be worth more than that if it's as long as it looks like it's going to be. I was intrigued by the demo, but was kind of worried that like it was all just going to kind of take place in this house and we'd have to just run around and do different stuff. But seeing on the store page, you'd like battle skeletons with like guns and dodge booby traps and everything. They're like exploring these tombs and catacombs. Like they probably should have had some of that in the demo because they just completely made it look like it was a standard Boo Haunted House type game.
They were just pulling the wool over your eyes.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, if I hadn't had seen the dungeony part, either on the store page, because they do it is shown there, but if you play the demo, you don't get to play any of that. Or watching you play some of it for this, I don't think I would have continued. I think just having the house gameplay wasn't compelling enough to continue with that. But seeing that it does expand more, and that it doesn't even look like we perhaps return to the house, it looks like that was just the intro, and that was going to be, we're done with that now. I'm probably going to pick this up as soon as we finish here.
All right, Tim, Suffer the Night. Will you continue?
My answer for this one, shockingly, is yes. Okay.
Whoa,
yeah, no, my God, it's crazy. This looks pretty good. I enjoy what they put together, and I really like the complete change that they pull on you at the 30-minute mark, we'll call it. It's probably like 45, but I really like it going from that house to that dungeon. That's a really nice little sequence. And honestly, for $12.49, I would probably be fine with an expanded version of just the beginning, because like that text-based adventure, amazing. And it's just cool. I love text-based adventures, and it would be even cooler if they made you type all the stuff. Maybe you can make that happen. Give me the option, please. Yeah.
If I may, real quick, if you're looking for that, people in the audience, and Tim especially, Stories Untold is an incredible 3D environment text-based adventure. Absolutely blew me away. It was fantastic.
Okay, I'll have to
so
check
go play that
out
too.
Yeah, because I've not played that, but this game, for $12.49, honestly, if they just expanded the front end of this, I would probably still buy it, because I thought that was pretty cool. I really like the atmosphere and like the little text-based adventure. Even if they just expanded that and made it more like, oh, look over your shoulder, or you got to get stuff done real fast, I'd be all about that life. But based on everything I know that's coming, like $12.49 seems like a steal, honestly. Like, I'm be real with you. It seems like it's probably worth more money than they're charging for it, and I will absolutely continue.
All right. And my final say, will I continue? I was a little bit on the fence, but I think our conversation has led me to want to continue the game. I think my only struggle with it is I think honestly the house part feels way more scary, like I mentioned, than the dungeon. And maybe it'll feel more scary later. The one part that we didn't mention actually was at one point there was like this weird like chomping noise, and we didn't know where it was coming from when we're crawling underneath this weird tunnel. And then like there's like these boards, and then there's something crawling next to you, like just on the other side of these boards. That did give me the willies now I think about it. So if there's more like that in the dungeon area, like that claustrophobic feeling, which truly will get me, because I do have I think I've developed claustrophobia as I've gotten older. That really got to me. So if they have more things that make me feel like these actual fears that I have, like being alone at home by myself, in the middle of nowhere with the thunderstorm, absolutely terrifying. And then having someone literally crawling up my walls and into my attic, that's terrifying. And then that claustrophobic feel and being trapped, those two things I think are really terrifying. And I think if you want to feel those things, this game does a very good job at it and making you feel uncomfortable. And I honestly, one of the best mechanics, and I really kind of hope they introduce it a little bit more in another way in the dungeon, is that look behind your shoulder mechanic of like, you have to do something, but keep an eye on something behind you. Ooh, it just freaks me out thinking about it, because like the idea of not knowing what's going on behind you and knowing that something's happening, terrifying.
Yeah, maybe later on when you're doing the saw to your arm on the pedestal.
Oh yeah. I actually like too, very minor thing, but especially because you were playing, I like that look behind you is a discrete action that you do on just a button, because I can imagine someone who is like apprehensive and scared about what's going on in the room, like just kind of half looking and trying to catch it out of the corner of the camera to like not look at it. But the fact that you just press a button and the game forces you to 180 around and just like look at it was a really good decision.
Oh, instead of like moving like a mouse or something and trying to like look over it. Yeah. Like you just have the option of look or don't look. And every time I heard a noise, I was like, what's that? What's over there? Like anytime. So it was really cool mechanics. So I think those parts, like as much as the game has some faults in it, I think there's so many more redeemable moments in this game that actually did give me like true fear that I will definitely continue and recommend this game. And if you want to continue this game as well, it is available on Steam. $12.49 is the price, which I thought was a weird price. I thought it was like an on sale price or something, but that's just the base price. So definitely worth the price there. I drink every time I said price right there. You'd probably get drunk right now. But thank you for watching or listening to The First 30. And those who are listening, remember, this is a video podcast, and you can find it at youtube.com/@first30podcast.